Can human thoughts directly affect physical reality? Well, according to heart math scientists, yes, they can. Not only can you affect small elements, but you can also affect the solar system. Solar storms could be stopped by your prayers and thoughts. Let's remember what happened to Joshua when he tried to stop the moon and the sun through his prayers to God. But what about everyday things? Can human thoughts directly affect physical reality? The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence, according to Nikola Tesla. It's exactly what's happening right now. It's making presence felt in all levels of academia, but we still have a long way to go. There are, though, fortunately, a group of international recognized scientists. They've come together to stress the importance of what is still commonly overlooked in the mainstream scientific community. It's the fact that matter, that is, protons, electrons, photons, anything that has a mass, is not the only reality. If you see this, a couple of videos back, yesterday and the day before, concerning consciousness and quantum reality, it's amazing how bizarre our thoughts couldn't change our matter around us. So these group of scientists say this is not the only reality, and we wish to understand the nature of our reality, but if we only examine physical systems and ignore the rest, things that we cannot see, things like consciousness, and the way it interacts with matter, we will never be able to do so. A few years ago, the scientists held an international summit on post-materialist science. They created a manifesto to explain the significance. And the scientists involved were Mario Beauregard, PhD, University of Arizona, Gary Schwartz, PhD, University of Arizona, Lisa Miller, PhD, Columbia University, in collaboration with Larry Dossi, MD, Alexander Moreira Almeida, MD, PhD, Marilyn Schlitz, PhD, Rupert Sheldrake, PhD, and Charles Tart, PhD. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. So as you can understand, these are very credible scientists. So there are hundreds of published peer-reviewed publications showing statistically significant results for this type of science, but unfortunately it's still shunned by mainstream academia, even though so many mainstream academic scientists support it. So why is that? Why would they do that? What's going on? The idea that the mind affects physical material reality is not trivial. It's been demonstrated repeatedly with statistically significant results through fascinating research undertaken by government programs, places like the Institute of Noetic Science, founded by Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and in more recent developments, a group of international recognized scientists mentioned here above. So why would these scientists, people working in the highest level of government, be studying this type of science if there was absolutely no validity behind this? The implications of this type of science are far-reaching, and in the opinion of many, far greater than those of material science. Don't be fooled. Material science has been integral to the advancement of humanity, but non-material science is truly our next step. Human thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, consciousness, and more are all intertwined with what we perceive to be our physical material reality. The science of consciousness is the backbone of quantum mechanics, QM. So here we have the quantum mechanics having to do with consciousness, the discipline that challenges the current assumed material foundations of what we call reality. Max Planck, theoretical physicist who originated quantum theory, which won him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918, says the science of consciousness is the backbone of quantum mechanics, QM. He says, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness, derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. Now, experiments over the past 4 decades have investigated whether human intention can alone affect the properties of, in this example, water. This question has been of interest to alternative medicine research because the human body is made up of about 70% water. Interest in this topic has been rekindled recently by multiple researchers, suggesting that intentionally influenced water can be detected by examining ice crystals formed from samples of that water. Scientists have hypothesized and shown that water influenced by intention can indeed influence the physical formation of the ice crystals that water produces. Consistent results commonly point to the idea that positive intentions tend to produce symmetric, well-formed, aesthetically beautiful, pleasing crystals, and negative intentions tend to produce asymmetric, poorly formed, unattractive crystals. Dean Radin, the chief scientist at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, along with Masaru Emoto, Takashiga Kizu, and Nancy Lund, designed an experiment that tested this hypothesis. And as the study description reads, over 3 days, 1,900 people in Austria and Germany focused their intentions towards water samples located inside an electromagnetically shielded room in California. Water samples located near the target water, but unknown to the people provided intentions. The people providing intentions such as proximal controls. Other samples located outside the shielded room acted as distant controls. Ice drops formed from sample water in the different treatment conditions were photographed by a technician. Each image was assessed for aesthetical beauty by over 2,500 independent judges, and the resulting data were analyzed all by individuals blind with respect to the underlying treatment conditions. Results suggested that crystal images in the intentional treated condition were rated as aesthetically more beautiful than proximal control crystals. This outcome replicates the result of an earlier pilot test, and you can read the study in the link here. And you can see the beautiful crystals when the words like compassion, thank you, wisdom, and also music, Mozart Symphony, peace, thank you, Imagine by John Lennon, love. Now, the water from Fujiwara Dam before the prayer and after the prayer, and also heavy metal music, how that distorts and makes the water ugly, water before and after a Buddhist prayer, things like that. Now, one of the previously mentioned studies was conducted in the 90s by Masaru Emoto, co-participant in the study used in the article. He came up with this idea to freeze the water and observe it with a microscope. At first, he observed crystals of tap water, river water, and lake water. From the tap water, he could not get any aesthetically pleasing crystals that were unique in design, not even from rivers or lakes that surrounded the big cities. However, water from more isolated rivers and lakes produced unique and beautiful crystals. The results from this earlier study, among others, show that the shape and physical structure of the water crystals changed after giving good words, playing good music, playing or offering pure prayer to the water. And the disfigured crystals were also observed when creating the opposite situation. Now, Emoto's work has been criticized before, and harshly. This type of research directly contradicts the belief systems of many scientists, and that's largely because the assumptions of material science have transformed into dogmas and installed the belief that the mind is nothing but the physical activity of the brain, and that our thoughts cannot have any effect upon physical structures or the physical world. That's why the republished study presented is so important, because it came after the criticisms and was replication of Emoto's work. And we have to mention here before concluding that the mind-body connection is also a great area to dive into, and one example of many where consciousness alters physical systems. This is what quantum theory and consciousness has proven. You can see the videos that I posted yesterday, the day before on that. Now, the placebo effect is another fantastic and proven example. Perhaps this is why more and more people are gravitating towards alternative forms of medicine. As Garth Cook from Scientific America points out, a growing body of scientific research suggests that our mind can play an important role in healing our body, or in staying healthy in the first place. There are now several lines of research suggesting that our mental perception of the world constantly informs and guides our immune system in a way that makes us better able to respond to future threats. That was a sort of aha moment for me, he said, where the idea of an entwined mind and body suddenly made more scientific sense than an ephemeral consciousness that's somehow separated from our physical selves. In 1999, a statistics professor at University of California, Irvine, published a paper, and there he showed that parapsychological experiments had produced much stronger results than those showing a daily dose of aspirin helps prevent a heart attack. And she showed that these results are much stronger than the research behind various drugs. Now, human thoughts and feelings and emotions, of course, a lot of us, when we're in fear, we have panic attacks. That has to do with our health and even our hearts. It's not good. So that's why we have to be peaceful, forgive our enemies, and just go on. And obviously, with God's help, everything will be fine. Now, human thought, feelings, and emotions have the power to change our world and are a necessary component behind our actions that will help bring that change into fruition. For a selected list of peer-reviewed journals, articles, reported studies as psychic phenomena, you can click in the link here below. This is by Arjun Walia, Collective Evolution on Bended Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.